everyone, this is EverNoize. I'm super glad to welcome you back to this Story of a Song series. Today is gonna be a specific episode about my song Fly and both the reasons why and the way I performed this sunset remix of that song. And the first thing I have to say is that this remix is part of a bigger project which I did with the great help, the wonderful help of a music supervisor who's in LA. And for those who don't know what a music supervisor is, these guys are the ones who are responsible for selecting what music is gonna go on what scene in every TV show, every movie, every ad, anything related to visual image plus music, whatever music it is, that you guys watch all the time. And you have two types of things. Either you have a composer, which is not my case, that's not my job, who writes a score, as we say, and it's usually the kind of orchestral music you have in many scenes on movies, etc., strings, big orchestras, all these kind of things. And very, very, very often you got songs on movies or in TV shows or on ads, etc. So who chooses these songs? Well, that's a music supervisor. Maybe he or she has the final say sometimes, or he or she proposes a few songs for a given scene to the director, and the director is going to be the one who finally decides upon that. But anyway, these guys are critical to this decision making. That's key to know. The other thing is that the one I was working with on that is really a top guy. He's worked on major projects, you all know. He's done a lot of things, and I was super lucky to be put in touch with him and to have a chance to work on that. And what that work was to pick some of my songs. The challenge was 3 months, 3 songs at the beginning. And actually what he did is that he picked 4 in the end instead of only 3. And one of them was Fly. Then the remix, what I call the sunset remix of all of these songs. So you'll have soon one out, and it's about Fly sunset remix. The work we did is different on each and every song, but with always the same major goal in the end in our minds, which is make sure that these songs which I had already created, produced, written, etc., recorded, and even released for some of them, were remixed to better fit this purpose of fitting them to television or to movies, etc. And in the case of Fly, this music supervisor made great proposals. Not necessarily huge differences compared to the original version, but the thing is that on each and every of these songs, he got a wonderful understanding of my own work, why I had done things, how I did them in the beginning, which were my influences, what other acts or bands my work reminds him of, and he was instantly exactly on the same page with me, but with his own eye, his own view, his own ear, and his own experience. You have to know that these guys are extremely experienced and have a tremendous music culture. They are just tremendous. So he made a few suggestions as regards Fly. The most noticeable one was about the vocals. There were 2 things. In the choruses, I had chosen to have a pretty clean voice, sung voice, the one you are hearing at the moment, because it's actually a pretty clean lyrics in that part. And he said, well, maybe we should add a lot more effects on this. Because of another song, we were also working together in parallel. The idea we came up with was to add what we call a vocoder. A vocoder is when you hear something which sounds like a robot. The older kinds sounds from the 70s or 60s even, which sound robot-like, but which sing along a melody and you recognize what the robot is saying. So that's what's called a vocoder. And what I did is that I used a much more modern vocoder, and it's actually I can't remember, maybe probably 4 or 5 different parallel kinds of treatment. One of them is a plain vanilla vocoder, but the other ones are other types of vocal treatments. Of course, it's all blended, it's all mixed, and the original voice, my voice, doesn't disappear. It's just additions to that. For instance, some of these treatments are those you would use to get this dark feather kind of voice, or other pitch my voice much higher, or this kind of thing. And you'll put that in parallel. You can get to something which would be too much, but it's there. It's not the only thing there. It's just there to support the original sung voice. So that's what you hear at the moment right now. And you can hear the difference compared to the original cleaner, much cleaner version.
Do you feel alive?
And about vocals, the other big change was in the verses. And as you know, the verses are rapped. It's spoken words, verging on rap. And in the original versions, I had chosen to have a kind of a kind voice, a good guy voice, a nice guy voice, pretty clean, pretty cool, a bit laid back, not too much intrusive, and, you know, pretty kind, as I would say.
Girl, I want to take you to this place of mine and show you the world as I see it, as I feel it all through my eyes and mind. Don't be so kind, don't be so blind, there's nothing.
And he said, well, we should think about something with a lot more attitude. And the result is something I wonder whether you can determine, if you hear it for the first time, whether the guy is a good guy or a bad guy, actually. You don't really know whether what he's saying is positive or negative. It could be negative as well. In my view, in my own way of writing this song, this is positive and it's a nice guy. But it's a nice guy who talks with a bad guy voice, so to say. And it's in a rush. It's all about running, escaping, violence. And because of that, it's kind of out of breath as well. And I used a specific way to talk and to deal with my breath in re-singing, re-speaking, and re-recording this part as well. So that's what you hear at the moment.
Girl, I want to take you to this place of mine and show you the world as I see it, as I feel it all through my eyes and mind. Don't be so kind, don't be so blind. There's nothing in this life that could take me out of my stride.
Then, as regards the instrumental parts, there were a lot less changes. One of them was about the guitars. This song is a trip-hop song, so it starts with a very strong electronic feel. But in the original versions, nonetheless, because it's the way I love to do things, I had added a rock element. But that rock element was a pretty clean guitar, which was playing some counterpart to the bass and a few chords. And that stops there in the first part, and in the second part, I'll talk about that in another story, I guess. But that guitar changes a lot. Now, what he said was that we should have plain vanilla and pretty obvious rock guitars, I mean, distorted rock guitars with chords like you have in a rock song. On top of that, but in the background, I mean, not too much present, but there. So that's something else which was added to the mix, which I designed, came up with the melodies, the chords, etc., played and recorded, and added to the mix again. And unless I'm forgetting something, the other big element I have in my mind in sharing this story with you is about the bass. For those who have already watched a few of these stories, you may have watched one where I was discussing the bass in the original version. And I was actually telling you, which is just the truth, that it's not one bass, it's 5 basses playing together. And that was the original version. That's how I came up with this sound in the original version. And then specific way to mix them to kind of keep them under control. Otherwise, if you have 5 basses playing all at once, it's just gonna be a big mess unless you mix them properly. But he said, hey, is there a way we could have that bass line, which is a backbone of the song, being even more hypnotic kind of? Can it have more groove if possible, just like you add more attitude to the spoken words, for instance? And I thought about that and I said, yes, it's always possible. And I found out that adding a non-acoustic sound I mean a pure electronic sound, on top of those which were already existing, served exactly that. So here you have the bass line right as it was in the original version, and here you have it as it is now in this Sunset remix. And it may not be that obvious, but you can hear a clear difference. And actually, even if it is not obvious, the effect it has on how that bass line works in the song and is hypnotic in the song, adds to the groove of the song, is clearly different in the two versions, which means that in this new version you have 6 basses playing together. You would have asked me before I composed that song, or even now, can you do that? I'd say it's just impossible. Well, it's really all about how you mix all that together. And it's a lot of fun, by the way, to investigate these kind of unusual ways to do things. Anyways, it's a long video. I've just shot more than 12 minutes. Wow. And I think I've shared with you at least some of the funniest parts of this little secret. I love doing that. I've told you so in other stories as well. I really love doing that. I hope you enjoy that as well. If you do, please leave a comment or a thumb up or subscribe, do everything you want to do. Follow me on socials. You have my tag appearing right here at the moment, and it's the same on each and every social, so it's very easy to find me and follow me there. You'll find a lot more on my website. You have the URL at the bottom of the screen since the beginning of this video. And last but not least, you also can find a lot more of these or song videos, lyric videos, whatever, on my YouTube channel, which you have a short link to right at the moment on screen. Again, it's been a great pleasure for me to share this with you today. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon on another episode. Have a good day. Bye now. Deep inside, are you still my
girl? I wanna take you to this place of mine and show you the world.